Russ Joy Show. I'm Russ Joy. Figured that out because you're smart. It's also the name of the show. Let's fix the desk. Bring the desk up. There we go. A little bit better. Looks very out of sorts. Welcome in. Happy Tuesday. It is a terrific Tuesday here on the Russ Joy Show. Why is it a terrific Tuesday? I don't know. Because they say it is. Usually we do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We did not do a show on Labor Day. And I thought, you know what? If we're not going to do a Labor Day show, I thought we were going to, but then we didn't. I keep saying we. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Since we didn't do a Monday show, I figured, all right, we'll do a Tuesday show. And then we'll turn around real fast and we'll do a Wednesday show. Just have to lock in a guest because now I've kind of like pigeonholed myself into this whole Wednesdays with thing. And I have 2 or 3 ideas of who I'm going to bring on tomorrow. And it might be somewhat unexpected, so I'll let you know on Wednesday's show. Now, in the meantime, there are things that we need to get to. Some of them are related with Philadelphia sports. Some of them are not. Some of them we'll expound upon tomorrow. Some of them we will not. But this is the beauty of doing the show. We'll do it this afternoon. We'll have a little bit of fun. And then, I don't know, we'll part ways. And we'll see each other within 24 hours or so tomorrow on the YouTube. Fawcett saying, glad you dressed up. I had an important call today, and I figured, you know what? I'm going to leave the shirt on. I'm going to leave this little number on right here, you know? Plenty of times I show up, I look like a schmuck, a jamoke on this show, and I figured, you know what, today, let's look a little bit decent, you know? We'll have fun out there. JH says someone unexpected. It's going to be Ant. It's always Ant. It won't be. Tomorrow is not an Anthony Sanfilippo day. I've reached my Anthony Sanfilippo quota on this show for at least a month after he was on. So Fawcett says, I hate that every Phillies game I get to watch sucks. Fawcett, you're no longer allowed to watch the Phillies. Those are the rules. You must have watched the series finale against the Braves, which left a lot to be desired. Not ideal. Bondarenko says, afternoon, all a surprise Tuesday show. I have to make sure that I'm fulfilling my obligations to the people out there. Ford is here, says you're welcome. Been a hell of a day so far. So fat now so far. He updated that. I appreciate that, Ford. Fawcett, now Ford's #1 fan, says he's here and usually right. JH says you're going to get us on a technicality as it's a new month. That is true. Happy September. We were going to do September 1st show. It did not happen, so now we're here on September the 2nd. And I don't have a second to spare on today's show, so we're going to get right into it. I'm going to drop in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So I'm actually going to, let me see. Can I slide this guy down a little bit? Oh, yeah, there we go. Slide this whole number over here. Now, in the bottom corner of the screen, you can see the comments. They're going to pop up. They're going to populate as we go throughout the show. I'll try to get to as many as I can. If I can't get to them all, oh well, but they'll be on the screen, so you can at least take a screenshot and say, well, look, I did it. I made it on a live stream. Sure, I'm not like iShowSpeed, who was at Pat's today. Don't know if anybody saw that, but he was at Pat's. He asked to put mayo on his cheesesteak, which I find deeply, deeply concerning on a lot of levels, but he's got a massively successful stream. There's no getting around it. Let me see if I can pull this up here really quick. So iShowSpeed was over at Pat's, and I assume he was there because of the Xfinity Mobile Arena verbiage and the Xfinity Mobile Arena signage being revealed today. But there you go. He was at Pat's, and then we're going to skip ahead. For whatever reason, he asked for mayo. I don't know why the guy asked for mayo. I find it deeply concerning, but it looked like they had a Hellman's mayo packet ready to go for the guy. So he put mayo on the cheesesteak. You can judge that. You can decide if it's okay or not. I want to actually throw an idea out to the people because I find mayo to be, I like mayo, but I find mayo to be like a pretty odd choice for a cheesesteak. But then I thought about it. I'm like, all right, well, in theory, right, you can have Russian dressing on a burger or on a roast beef special, right? So you've got ketchup, you've got mayo, usually relish, right, in a Russian dressing. But then I was like, all right, ketchup and mayo go together pretty well. I've had ketchup and mayo on a burger before. That doesn't seem too weird. But does a ketchup and mayo both being on a cheesesteak, is that acceptable? So I'm actually going to put up a poll. Man, the comments are live today. Live on a Tuesday. Is mayo acceptable on a cheesesteak? That's the question. And I think that if now again, I'm not trying to influence anyone's opinion here, okay? I don't want to go down as being somebody who tried to manipulate the viewers here. But it's either a yes, a no, or Yes, with ketchup. We're gonna just put those three up as the options. I want to see what people think because I could see making a case for ketchup and mayo together on a cheesesteak. Maybe if you're following the mentality of the ketchup and mayo on a cheeseburger being okay, why should it not be okay on a cheesesteak? Now, again, I am not committed to this line of thinking, okay? I am not locked and loaded on this idea that it has to happen. I don't really care. You guys can go whichever way you want to go, okay? Totally up to you. I need to know in the comments, though. As of right now, 80% of respondents say, no, 83%. Oh, we're back down to 80. 83% of respondents say no, mayo is not acceptable on a cheesesteak. 17% currently weighing in say yes, it is acceptable. No one has chosen the option of yes with ketchup. So, JH, very upset. Very worked up about the idea of mayo on a cheesesteak. Fanny Pack. Hello, Fanny Pack. Like the video, share the video, subscribe. Says mayo, ketchup, fried onions is my order. I like fried onions. I can get down with some fried onions. I can get down with ketchup. Ketchup, mayo, fried onions. On a cheeseburger, I'd be fine. So conceptually, it shouldn't be that offensive on a cheesesteak. We're gonna keep checking this. All right, let me keep going over the comments here for a second. Amadeo asks, did Braun Breaker's spear I show speed for that? I don't think so, but maybe he should. JH says, that's ballsy. Usually people don't film their crimes. Ford says mayo is disgusting. Fawcett says mayo on most things is terrible. Greg Bondarenko believes mayo does not belong on a cheesesteak. Video guy Amadeo says it's not acceptable. Wow. A lot of people in the comments. Not a big fan of the mayonnaise. Let's see. Amadeo says the only condiment I would trust on a cheesesteak is hot sauce. Ooh. Ford throws out the idea of the buffalo chicken cheesesteak. Who doesn't love that? It's great. We have the hot dog as a sandwich thing going on now. I've sent us straight to hell. Like, this is pretty much, I need like good old Jim Ross. I need good old JR to, by God, he sent this comment section straight to hell. They're talking about mayonnaise on a cheesesteak. What about all the great things happening in Philadelphia sports and beyond? Russ Joy, that's what your show is supposed to be about, not about the appropriate condiments on a cheesesteak. By God. By God. I like this, by the way. Noted shill for Big Mayo. Yo, Big Mayo could absolutely buy me. 100%. They could buy my allegiance. Sponsored the show. Hellman's, hit me up. Let's have a chat. Okay. I don't even know how do we get off on that? How do we get off on I Show Speed talking about the cheesesteaks? I don't even remember how we got there. Okay. Let's kind of bounce around here a little bit. As I mentioned before, there are a few things that I think are kind of newsworthy, noteworthy, and then we're going to kind of fly around. There's a bunch of Philly stuff. There's a bunch of non-Philly stuff. We'll start with the Philly stuff, but we're going to kind of like weave in and out a little bit because there are some things that like made me legitimately chuckle. First of all, since we're on food, I am going to note this. This has nothing to do with the Eagles, but it should. The Baltimore Ravens today put something out that made me cheer and then also be very upset with our football team. We're going to go out to it right now. The Baltimore Ravens today announced, I'm going to take the comments out for a second. The Baltimore Ravens announced a revamped flock-friendly fare menu. So they are going to lower the prices on a number of concession items, or at the very least, they're going to maybe not lower them, but they're going to limit the price on some of these things. Let's take a look at this. A barbecue chicken sandwich, $4.99. Nachos, $4.49. Hot dog, $3.49. Pretzel, $1.99, baby. French fries, $3.49. Peanuts, if you like having peanuts at a football game, $3.49. Blackbird chips, I don't know what those are, $2.49. Popcorn, $1.99. You can get a beer for less than $5. 24-ounce soda, $3.99. Water, $3.49. It continues, though, because then they hit you with this additional graphic, which is crazy. Feed a family of 4 for less than $10 a person. That's pretty good. I mean, I got a family of 6, got 4 kids. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's a good thing to have, affordable concessions. 4 hot dogs, 2 popcorn, 2 pretzel bites, 2 waters, 2 beers, $38.88. I do appreciate the fact that they 1,000% expect you as a parent or as a set of parents to need the beer and give the kids the water. The other way gets you in a lot of trouble. But the fact that they're like, you know what? If you're going to take your kids to a football game, you absolutely are going to want and or need a beer. Here you go. $38.88 to feed a family of 4. Wonderful. And then they give you the regional average of what it costs to get these things at other games. $6.49 typically for popcorn, $1.99. $6.74 for a pretzel, $1.99. $7.74 for French fries, down to $3.49, and a hot dog, $6.74 down to $3.49. Now, in fairness, they can't compete with Costco, the $1.99 hot dog soda combo. But damn, like, that makes you just kind of lose your mind a little bit, doesn't it? Like, even if you like your football team a lot, even if you love your football team, it's kind of hard to, like, go to bat for your football team, at least on the concession side of things, when, like, you're getting price gouged. And make no mistake about it, for as much as we all might enjoy the Philadelphia Eagles, or if you watch the show and you have a different team that you like, this just proves that, like, NFL owners are able and willing in some cases to limit the price of food and beer and have a family-friendly mentality, feeding a family of 4 for less than $40. That's pretty freaking awesome. I told you guys before, when we went up to Yankee Stadium for Phillies Yankees for the series finale like a month ago or whatever, I thought that the concessions prices were significantly better than you get in Philadelphia. And I was like, that's weird that, like, in New York City of all places, the Yankees, which you kind of would say is probably synonymous with expensive, right? I thought the concession prices were more than acceptable. And then you get this Ravens thing, and it makes you kind of wonder, like, why is it that some of these teams and some of these owners aren't willing to do a similar promotion? And obviously the bottom line is a big part of it. But man, that's pretty crazy, right? That's like very affordable food. Let's see. We have people out here. Where are we at? Amadeo says $4.99 beer in this economy. Indeed. Also notes, let's see. Fawcett says, I can always get a beer for less than $5. Yeah, if you go in your fridge. Greg Bondarenko says, sheesh, that's going to be a grand okay time at the Ravens game. Baltimore Mafia took over, according to Fawcett. And now the in fairness counter has begun. Let's see. JH says, wow, while they do this, Flyers going to charge $14 for a hot dog and $20 for a box of popcorn this year. I mean, who knows? We'll find out soon enough. It's just wild. And this is the thing. We talked about this back when the Phillies played the Yankees, but the Yankees have this thing where I don't remember what the exact price was now, but like it was a thing of chicken tenders. There was like 8 chicken tenders and a full like commemorative whatever thing of French fries. I think it was like $17-18. And I just remember going like, that's insane. Like that is wildly cheap compared to what you would expect. Anyway, we've gotten that part out of the way. We were on food. Now we are off food. And now we have to get on to some other things. And we talked about football. And so we're going to actually pivot over to football right now. Because there were a couple of newsworthy things that have come out over the last day or so around your team, your town, your Philadelphia Eagles. And we are actually going to start that with Nick Sirianni, who met with the media today and dropped a little bit of a knowledge bomb that you might say to yourself, wow, I didn't expect that, Nick Sirianni. The Super Bowl banner was brought up. You know, of course, the Eagles are going to take on and destroy, decimate the Micah Parsons-less Dallas Cowboys on Thursday night. And in doing so, they're going to get to do that in front of their division rival and drop the Super Bowl banner at Lincoln Financial Field. But don't expect the Philadelphia Eagles to be on the field for that because Nick Sirianni met with the media and he had a somewhat surprising thing to say. At least I thought it was somewhat surprising to say about where his players will be when they actually reveal the banner. Let's go out to Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, I didn't know it was banner night. We won't be out for that. We've had a good training camp. I think we had good OTAs. I think our habits are going in the right direction, and you focus on those things as every practice that we go through, we're thinking about how did we tackle, how did we take care of the football, how did we take it away, how did we catch it, how did we block. And so you're just looking for those to constantly be on the rise. And I think, when you practice with the intensity that our team practices with, and you get that good on good work that we've gotten for so long, our good offensive line is going against our good defensive line. You have no choice but to get better. And so I feel good about that. Now we got to go do it. We got to let our habits take over.
I just want to point out really quickly that the question was about the banner, and he goes, I didn't know it was banner night. And then we jump cut here to this long. All right, let's continue.
In the game, as coaches, we got to let our habits take over in the game as players. But I feel good about where we are right now. And this will be a really good test against a really good opponent.
Let's start this over again really quick.
Yeah, I didn't know it was banner night. We won't be out for that.
That was it. Like, that really was the one moment that we need out of it. He claims he didn't realize it was banner night. I don't believe that. We will not be out there for it. So the Philadelphia Eagles, who won the Super Bowl a season ago, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to take the field on Thursday Night Football to start the NFL regular season against the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to reveal the Super Bowl banner, but Nick Sirianni is not going to be out there. Saquon Barkley is not going to be out there. Neither is Jalen Hurts or A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith or Lane Johnson or Zach Bond or Cooper DeJean or Quinyon Mitchell or Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis. None of them are going to be out on the field, which seems a little bit odd to me. Now, I'm not going to tell you that this is we're not venturing into hot take territory here, okay? I think it's a little bit weird to not have the guys out there for that moment. Now, I know that conceptually, right, the thing that matters the most if you win a Super Bowl is to be in the moment when you win the Super Bowl and to live all that up. And then eventually you turn the page and you start working on the next season. I don't think that it is against the team's best interest to go out and actually experience putting up the banner, dropping the banner at Lincoln Financial Field. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think it's going to, make the Eagles yearn for the memories of last season. I don't think it's going to make them wistful all of a sudden. I don't think that it's going to lower the intensity of the night. I don't think it's going to all of a sudden make the Eagles fall into a lull against a Dallas Cowboys team that is still reeling from the trade of Micah Parsons. Like, I don't see an issue with having the team out there for the banner dropping. Now, if Sirianni really does believe that for the competitive advantage of the team, they need to be in the locker room going through it like a normal game and, cool, there's a banner, but like, screw it. It's really more for the fans than anybody else. And like, we already won the Super Bowl and we lived it up and now it's a new season. Like, fine. That's a mentality thing. Sometimes I think teams, coaches, players, sometimes I think they get a little bit too in their own heads. Sometimes I think they're so locked in on this idea of, all right, cool, we won one, let's get another. And I don't hate that idea. I don't hate the mentality, but like the likelihood of you doing that isn't exactly the highest, right? Like, you don't see a lot of teams go back to back or go back to back to back or have a dynasty where you win 3 Super Bowls or 3 championships of any kind in 4 years or 5 years. There's a reason for that, right? There's a lot of parity in leagues. You have a lot of injuries that can take over a team. There are a lot of factors that you can't plan for that could derail a season. You can have a bad performance in the playoffs and get bounced by an inferior team. So sometimes I feel like these teams and these players and these coaches, in trying to do this whole turning of the page thing and trying to like build on legacy and, go out and win another one. And how great we won that, but now we're focused on the task at hand. Like, live it up a little bit. Like, enjoy it, right? Because this might be, obviously we hope it's not, but this might be the only Super Bowl that any of these players or coaches win ever. We don't know that. We certainly don't hope that that's the case, right? It's a relatively young team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They have all of their major pieces locked up long term. This is a team that should have a very wide open championship contending window. But I don't know. Does anybody else think it's just like a little bit weird that it almost seems like more energy goes into kind of tamping down the conversation about last year's success? And it's so focused on like, oh, we're just turning the page. I don't know. Part of me just thinks it's a little bit weird. I don't know. It's whatever. Let's see. Maybe I'm crazy. Andrew Fawcett asks, how do you not know it's banner night? Asking of Sirianni. Greg Bondarenko asks, has there ever been a team who didn't attend their banner celebration? I don't know. Maybe one of the Patriots teams. I don't know off the top of my head. Andrew Fawcett says, okay, ring ceremony is more meaningful to a degree, but that banner was earned too. I agree. And then Bondarenko says, was the parade the big celebration then? I mean, again, if you think of this, if you're Nick Sirianni and you think, all right, well, the real big celebration in all this, like the thing that really mattered the most was that Super Bowl, the parade, all that, and that the banner is really more for fans to cheer, maybe for ownership and the front office to kind of take the shine. Okay. Just, I don't know. Part of me that thinks like there's a little bit of too much of an effort to kind of downplay an accomplishment. It's okay to be proud of that. It's okay to like be on the field for that, but whatever. Now, we talk about awards. We talk about things that are meaningful. We've spent a lot of time on this show over the last couple of weeks talking about the fact that there have been some very weird things kind of going on with the NFL Top 100 list. And most notably, we talked about Jalen Hurts' ranking and like what that meant. And we've been kind of wondering, will there be any other players from the Eagles that are going to rank above Jalen Hurts? And you kind of figured that Saquon Barkley had to be somewhere on the list. Well, it turns out not only is Saquon Barkley on the list, Saquon Barkley sits atop the list because he has now been voted by his peers as the number one player on the NFL Top 100 list. Now, again, how much you think that matters is up to you. But again, this is voted on by his peers. Let's see what Saquon Barkley had to say about being voted the number one player in the National Football League.
Good. All right.
Important to set the stage here. He has no idea what's going on. All right, you can see he's trying to read the trophy, like what's going on? What is this thing? He has no idea what's happening.
Oh, that's hard.
There it is.
I can pick it up.
So there you go. NFL Top 100, number one player 2025 as voted by his peers, Saquon Barkley.
It's heavy.
Damn. Oh, that's hard.
Did you know?
No, I did not.
Yeah, we get those made every
Oh,
year.
that's fire.
Now, remember, the way that they've been releasing this list, it's been like I think it's been by the 10s, maybe by the 20s. And so you're getting a larger group of players, and you probably don't care that much, right? Like, I have to assume if you play in the NFL and you're a very good player, if you had the kind of season that Saquon Barkley did last season, you're probably not sitting around waiting to find out where you landed on the list. And if you find out, all right, Jalen Hurts is number 19 or whatever, all right, well, I'm probably somewhere in the top 18. Maybe I'm top 10. Maybe the top 5. I mean, in fairness, like Saquon Barkley was a legitimate MVP candidate last season. You'd have to figure he's somewhere near the top 5.
You were number one.
Okay. I guess I'll put it back here. Damn. That's a great way to start this interview. Okay.
And so there you go. Saquon Barkley with an honest, I don't know, kind of endearing reaction to being named the number one player in the National Football League, according to his peers. I have to feel like of all the awards that you can win, getting voted number one is a pretty big deal, especially if it's by your peers. It's not just a bunch of people that you maybe look at and go, what the hell do you know? Sometimes that's writers. Sometimes that's people who talk into microphones. Has to feel kind of cool that it comes from your peers. Now, we talked about Jalen Hurts, and there are people currently talking about Jalen Hurts, and this is just how it works, right? We know that there are going to be people at the national level and at the local level that are going to have a lot to say about Jalen Hurts this year. And I will say that one of the people I did not expect to hear from today was Joe Montana. But Joe Montana was over on Pat McAfee's show, and I thought that this was like at least a somewhat notable thing. You know, we talk about when the national media people get things right, when they get it wrong, all that kind of stuff, right? So I will set this up with the context that Bruce Arians was on McAfee's show, and he was talking to Montana, and he said, like, who are the quarterbacks that you would start a franchise with? And, of course, like, he doesn't say the name of any of the guys. He just says that guy in Buffalo, the guy in Cincinnati, the guy for the Chargers. But he has a fourth player that I found intriguing, and you'll find out why here in a second.
And believe it or not, I like the guy in with the Chargers. Just
Herbert.
Just
So
Herbert.
he is saying Justin Herbert, which again, gunslinger. You would expect a guy like Montana to like Justin Herbert. We'll just ignore the fact that he's 1-0, but that's fine.
I think they've kind of gone by the wayside
Here
there.
it is.
But I don't know. I just like the way those three guys are.
BA, how do you feel about his top?
I do also like the guy in Philly though, and we'll get
Yeah. Jalen Hurts, okay,
Well,
okay,
thankful,
just
yeah.
won a Super Bowl.
So there you go. Just real quick thing. He throws Hurts out there. Notice he doesn't name Patrick Mahomes. That one was kind of interesting. Not that it was like a critical thing, but he doesn't mention Mahomes. So he's got Allen, Burrow, Herbert, Jalen Hurts. Also a notable absence on that list, two-time MVP Lamar Jackson. But he takes Hurts over Jackson. Also an interesting little note. Now, I mentioned that's happening at the national level, but there was something that happened at the local level. And how much you value this person's opinion really does matter depending on how into it you are and how into this guy's commentary you are. But there was a guy on local radio today that threw out a pretty wild take, and then I thought about it and I mulled it over, and I'll let you know how I feel about it in a second. But Joe Giglio had a take on Jalen Hurts that might make your head spin. Let's go over to Joe Giglio here real quick from WIP Middays earlier today, talking about Jalen Hurts and whether or not he's going to be able to continue his Super Bowl performance into this season.
Expect it. Let me just put it quite frankly. He's capable of it, and I think that Jalen Hurts is going to have 3 or 4 or 5 games this year where he plays excellent football. If you go back and look last year.
3, 4, or 5 games where he's going to play excellent football. Okay, so out of 17, 3, 4, or 5 are going to be excellent. All right, let's follow the line of rationale.
He had 4 games like the Super Bowl, or 3 other games you would say like the Super Bowl. The Steeler game, the Bengal game, the Jaguar game. If you look at those games, he was over 70% completion. He had 3 touchdowns or more, 275 total yards. Like, on average, once every month or so, he played a game like that.
So the idea here of this excellent football is playing at the caliber of what he did in the Super Bowl, being named Super Bowl MVP. Not just that he's playing very good football, not that he's hitting certain arbitrary numbers just for fun. It's that he's matching or exceeding his performance from the last Super Bowl. Okay.
Not every week, not every game. Here's what I expected of Jalen Hurts this year. I expect him to be a good quarterback. I expect him to be one of the 10 best quarterbacks in pro football.
Is that fair? Top 10? You would hope so, right? If you're going to win a Super Bowl this year, if you're going to have like a legitimate chance of getting home field advantage at the NFC playoffs, you would hope that Hurts is going to be a top 10 guy. Okay, so we can agree on that.
I do think if you look at the last 4 years, since he really started going, he's a top 10-ish quarterback. Some years it's been closer.
Top 10-ish means that you could fall down to like 13, 15. All right, be careful, Joe.
Sort of 3, right? Like the year he almost won the MVP. Some years, like let's say 2 years ago, 2023, was probably closer to like 11 or 12, but a top 10-ish quarterback. It could be 6, could be 5. That's what I expect, but Hugh Douglas, if he plays like he did in the Super Bowl most weeks this year, he could win the MVP of the league.
Well, of course, if you're going to play at Super Bowl MVP caliber, of course you're going to be the MVP of the league. All right. So I know that the first half of that clip is probably going to be the thing that people are, because the attention spans, right? That's a 2-minute clip, and we only played a minute of it. But I just wanted to make sure that we kind of got a little bit of context there. You're going to have a lot of people who are going to say, wow, he thinks that Hurts is only going to play 3, 4, or 5 excellent games. Important caveat is that he's got this note about how excellent is how Hurts played to win and be named Super Bowl MVP. I have to imagine that Jalen Hurts is going to have 6 or 7 of those games at the very least for this team to compete for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. I mean, Saquon Barkley is going to have a great season, but there are historical precedents here that would maybe indicate that after all the touches and all the yards that Barkley racked up a season ago, perhaps you don't want to ride him quite as much as you had to a year ago. And I know it's kind of easier said than done, but you would expect the defenses are going to stack the box to try to limit Saquon Barkley's production and make Jalen Hurts beat them, which means you could very well see a scenario where Jalen Hurts is airing out the football a lot more than you're used to. And perhaps he is successful early in games and he finds a rhythm. And then you're able to incorporate Saquon Barkley. Now you've got what you ultimately had last year, which was a very efficient run game and a very efficient passing game. Now, if defenses stack the box to shut down Saquon Barkley and Hurts can't find a rhythm early, and you start to have a few performances of like 115 yards through the air, well, then people are going to start panicking again. This is just how it works in this city. I have to imagine that like you're going to see Jalen Hurts closer to like 225 yards passing than like over 300 yards passing. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. If that's happening and the Eagles are winning games, it means that Saquon Barkley is just as effective or nearly as effective as he was in an almost MVP caliber season a year ago. I don't think that Hurts has to be a guy who throws for over 300 yards, over 70% completion percentage week in and week out. I don't think he has to do that for the Eagles to win games. I'd actually say they're probably better off if that's not what's happening because, again, if Hurts is airing the ball out that much it probably means something has gone terribly wrong with the running game. That would either mean that Barkley's hurt, that would mean that Barkley's not as effective. And if you become a one-headed monster on offense, I do worry about the viability of this team being a legitimate Super Bowl contender. That balance is going to be the most crucial thing going into the season. Peter Tom Willis, though, says it's Hurts' year to take over. Could be. Could be. We'll find out. There is part of me that would like to see Hurts get a little bit more opportunity to prove some of these doubters wrong. We'll see if it happens this year or not. I don't think they're going to fundamentally change their offense just to try to prove some doubters wrong. Now, there's one other thing that I wanted to get to on the Eagles front. It's very quick, and it doesn't really matter all that much, but it is kind of funny. So everybody knows about the tush push. And I was going to play a clip earlier, but like Kyle Brandt was on Good Morning Football today talking about how he wants the Eagles to come out and do a tush push as the first play of the game, just to kind of stick it to the teams that tried to vote it out. But no, there was one thing that actually came out today that made me laugh, and it was this. The Eagles have an official partner for the tush push now, and it's Dude Wipes. So I just want you to think about how funny it is that a play that has become as hated across the National Football League as the tush push has gotten to be such a part of the conversation of vernacular football. The tush push. It is such a big deal now that you have a company like Dude Wipes sponsoring the play. That's pretty funny. All right, now, I have a couple of other things to touch on here really quick before we head out, and then we'll recap some other stuff tomorrow on Wednesday's show. The first is maybe one of the most amazing things I've seen, okay? If you are a parent, you are going to relate to this story in the best possible way. You have Hunter Renfroe, who's played in a couple of places in the NFL, including the Raiders, and he missed a bunch of calls because he was getting a lot of calls from the Panthers. He was getting calls from the GM, from the coach, from his agent. In fact, he had 10 or more missed calls on his phone. He didn't even know until he got into the car. And the reason that he had 10 missed calls or 10 declined calls on his phone is probably like one of the best parenting moments you'll see this week. And so I'm going to throw it out to Hunter Renfroe to explain why exactly he missed 10 calls from the Panthers. Because make no mistake about it, he did not intend on declining or missing 10 calls from the GM, the coach, and his agent. Let's go out to Hunter Renfroe. Why is it that you didn't answer your phone, fella?
And my daughters were in the car. Like, I was right outside the car. I wasn't just leaving them in there. But I guess I had like 10 missed phone calls from Dan and Dave, my agent, and they were all just ignored. My daughter's watching Bluey or something. She didn't know all of them. So
he had 10 declined calls on his phone because his daughter was watching Bluey in the car. And I just want everybody to take a second. Let's all think about how relatable of a human being you have to be now. All right, so you had some time. Kids are in the car. They're on your phone. Important calls are coming through. You miss these important calls. You don't even realize it until you get your phone back, and then you go, oh, shit, what's going on? And the whole reason is because his daughter was declining calls so she could keep watching Bluey. Now, what do I always say on the show? This is why I don't like screens in the hands of the children. This is what, if you don't say, my phone does not go to my kids. Sitting at a restaurant, TV show on, blaring so the whole restaurant has to listen to Bluey or listen to whatever game they're playing on their phone. Now, in this case, they're in the comfort of the car. That's okay. No issue there. But can you imagine? GM, coach, agent, constantly calling, can't get through, and it's because his daughter is watching Bluey. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Ford says, I never let my kids use my phone. Very desperately, maybe I have a couple of times, but by and large, nope. I agree with Ford. Is this where Fawcett chimes in and says Ford is always right, or it's often right? Now, you know who's not right? It might not be the right coach, might not be the right person for the moment, might not have the right decision-making faculties at this point in his career. Bill Belichick. Holy smokes. I actually was ready to come on and do a show about what a successful program University of North Carolina is running. That Bill Belichick is maybe going to get UNC in the conversation to be a playoff team. Could they end up being a team that's a dark horse for a national championship. Now, listen, I don't pay attention to college football. I couldn't tell you jack diddly squat about these teams until we get, about 3 weeks from the end of the regular season. I tuned in and watched Ohio State, Texas. In fact, I built my Saturday in large part around the Ohio State-Texas game. I don't care about either of these teams. I don't care which team wins or loses. But I told my kids, I'm like, hey, the number 1 team in the country and the number 3 team in the country, they're going head-to-head. This could be a lot of fun. Why don't we watch a college football game as a family? So the kids actually sit down and say, okay, Dad, let's watch it. That game sucked. Arch Manning sucked. That game as a whole, just not a great way to introduce your kids to college football. But then we get Monday night. We get TCU, good program. UNC, Bill Belichick, going to coach college. Couldn't get another pro job. Okay, he goes to college. Now we know some of what happened around his girlfriend, who is considerably younger than him. Not that we're judging, but maybe we're judging a little. And Bill Belichick and his girlfriend had made some headlines over the summer. There were some issues with an interview that he was doing that she interrupted when the conversation came up about how they actually met. Here's the thing that people found very concerning that started to circulate on Tuesday. Bill Belichick's girlfriend was on the sideline. Now, this isn't during the game. This is during pregame. But Bill Belichick's girlfriend is on the sideline, comes over and talks to him. Now, what's Bill Belichick's girlfriend talking to him about? What does she need pregame? Is she asking for money for the concession stand? Is she asking for directions somewhere? Is she trying to figure out where they're going to have dinner after the game? So many questions, not a lot of answers. But she's on the sideline. Now, if you remember, there were some people who thought that when Bill Belichick was interviewing for NFL gigs that perhaps the presence of his girlfriend was seen as problematic. There have been people that have worked with him in the past or worked for him in the past that have said that he might be hurting his legacy. There have been anonymous sources that have kind of floated this idea that he's hurt his legacy with some of his decision-making in recent years. But his girlfriend being on the sideline seems a little bit off. I don't know if Nick Sirianni's wife is on the sideline every Sunday. I don't know if Andy Reid's wife is on the sideline every Sunday. I don't know if Ryan Day, for example, in the college ranks, if his wife, girlfriend, whatever, is on the sidelines every game. I just thought it was a weird thing. It's an interesting thing that his significant other is on the sideline. And it starts to make you think that there might be a little bit of credence to some of these even anonymous reports about why NFL teams might have kind of soured on Bill Belichick. Just a thought. Now, last thing I want to get to has to do with the NHL, because there are some CBA things that have been approved that we didn't expect to go into place for 2025, 2026. But there are 2 or 3 things that we're going to talk about, and I think we're going to get into it a little bit better on Wednesday. But there are a couple of things that are very, very big that we need to have a conversation about here really quickly before we part ways, before we decide to go our separate ways on this special Tuesday edition of the show. The one notable one is something that a lot of people have been kind of clamoring for years, because there's been salary cap manipulation going into the playoffs. And now it seems like that loophole is being closed. Frank Saravalli put out today that according to sources, the NHL and NHLPA have agreed to a rolling implementation schedule for CBA changes. Among them, the new playoff salary cap system will come into effect this season for the 2026 Stanley Cup playoffs. Players will have until September 15th, 2026 to sign deals with current structure, including term, signing bonus, and variability. All deals signed after September 16th, 2026 will be subject to the new CBA. Changes to player dress code and player ability to endorse wine and spirits begins immediately, which means now all of a sudden you might see some of your favorite players being able to endorse wine or spirits, which is interesting. Now, the implementation of a salary cap for the playoffs makes sense. Being able to manipulate the LTIR rule and have a guy kind of sitting, not counting against the cap, not counting against the cap, being able to reload and add assets, add players at the trade deadline, and then get into the playoffs and whoopsie daisy, how did this guy fall from the sky? How did this multi-time all-star player that's been out for a good chunk or all of the season, boy, he just happened to be healthy enough to start playing in the playoffs? That loophole is now closed. Now, there is another thing, which is that the the AHL loan option for 19-year-old players is supposed to start as well. So Puckpedia reported that the AHL is going to give an exception that 19-year-olds will be able to be loaned to an AHL team. Why this matters, and it's something that we'll probably talk about on Wednesday, is that, of course, the Flyers have Jet Lashenko. And the long-held belief has been, all right, if the Flyers want to have Jet Lashenko, right, they want to have him on the main team, have them up with the Flyers, he better play well in camp. Because if he doesn't, do you really want to send him back to junior, send him back to Guelph for another season where he's really not going to improve? Well, this, theoretically, would give the Flyers the ability, if he doesn't impress out of camp, to, at 19 years of age, loan him to the Phantoms. Let him play a full season in the AHL, and then as a 20-year-old next year coming out of camp, give him another actual opportunity to make the team. We will talk about this again on Wednesday's show, so I want to make sure that everyone knows, if you're a hockey fan especially, we are going to get to this in more detail. We're going to kind of dive into more about the CBA and what it means for the NHL and NHLPA. We will talk about it on Wednesday. So make sure you stay tuned. And if you haven't done so already, like this video, share the video, and subscribe over on YouTube to the Russ Joy Show. You can also subscribe on the Joy Media account. You can subscribe on your favorite podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. Do me a favor, leave a 5-star rating over on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. You can also leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and I'll read it on the show. Again, like the video, share the video, subscribe. You can share it to a friend, to a family member, maybe to an ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, ex-whoever. Send it to them. They won't watch it, but maybe they will. And if they say, who the hell is this guy? And also, I haven't heard from you in 4 years. Why did you ghost me? This isn't exactly the most appropriate way to end a ghosting of 3 years. We need to talk about why our relationship fell apart. Who the hell is Russ Joy, and why are you sending me his show? Remember, you don't have to answer that. You just have to share the video to that person. Then you can block them and report their text back as spam. You could do that on an iPhone. Not saying that you should, but I'm saying you could. Just throwing it out there. Just an idea. I'll be back on Wednesday. Until then, this has been the Russ Joy Show, and I've been Russ Joy, but you knew that already because you're smart, and it's also the name of the show. Talk to all of you Wednesday here on the Russ Joy Show.